gentlemen, welcome to Marketing Monday, Wins and Fails, where we go over all of the wins and the fails in the last week in marketing and business. Today's top story concerns a subject very near and dear to my heart. Nuclear energy, something I'm quite a big fan of for many reasons. Maybe it's its extremely energy-dense nature, where you can get much more energy from one pellet than you can from 100 gallons of oil or a ton of coal. Maybe it's the fact that it's extremely efficient in terms of space, where one nuclear reactor can be done on 1 square mile of land versus 360x the land needed for wind, or 75x needed land for solar. Or maybe it's its extremely high capacity factor, where nuclear energy can run 92.5% of the days of the year, constantly producing power, while others can only work certain times of the year. But nuclear energy has its downfalls, namely a bad rap. Could be from The Simpsons, showing nuclear energy is extremely dangerous. It could be a Jaws type effect, where even though shark attacks are relatively rare, it's such a visceral idea. The idea of a nuclear meltdown is so deeply ingrained in our brain that it's scary for people to approve a nuclear power plant to be built near them. In America, we've had the famous 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor accident in 1979. As a result of technical malfunctions and human error, this is the worst commercial nuclear accident. It's worth noting that even though the magazines all ran with the title Nuclear Nightmare, and it really sunk into public consciousness, nobody died and nobody was even injured. It was a problem, there was a leak, they had to fix it, could have been dangerous, but nothing actually happened. Generally, we've had many long-running nuclear power plants producing stable energy for decades and decades. And yet, because of these image problems, and I will say cost problems, nuclear has been in a bit of a limbo, a bit of a ghost zone. We're using old plants, but not really building new plants. Until that is, something came along. The digital brain, artificial intelligence. In the past few years, the rise of AI has brought a coincident rise in energy demands. They are out of control. The thing about AI is that it takes place in data centers. Things that are often used for previously, like for cloud storage and cryptocurrency, are now being used primarily for AI. Data centers look like this. They're big, gigantic racks of servers. Well, they don't exactly look like this. Now, probably they look like this. A little greener and with more NVIDIA logos. Because all of NVIDIA's rise lately has been to the fact that they sell the chips used in data centers. They don't really care about the gaming side anymore. This is where they make racks off selling racks. And that has made Jensen Huang here extraordinarily rich. In fact, so rich that when I worked at NVIDIA, our biggest pie in the sky rival was Intel. And we always thought, man, they're like the ones we have to worry about and be afraid of. Recently, Jensen Huang is now worth more than the entirety of Intel himself. This is not NVIDIA, this is Jensen's personal wealth. But data centers have enormous electricity and water demands. In fact, one estimate says that by around 2030, 2032, 10% of all electricity in America will go just to data centers. That is an extraordinary demand that our current power systems aren't set up to handle, especially not in a clean way. For example, an interview with the CEO of Anthropic, OpenAI's largest competitor, said that the future is going to need 3 things built next to each other: a nuclear power plant, a data center, and a bunker in case the AI goes rogue. But it's this one right here that's important, because these massive demands for electricity and power, especially in a clean way, has led to people re-looking at the idea of nuclear energy. Suddenly it's back in favor. Microsoft has decided to reopen 3 Mile Island. They bought it and they're reopening it because they need energy that bad. Microsoft expects to consume 5 to 6 times as much electricity by 2030, and they set climate goals in 2020 that were based on a much lower number. The only way they could even come close to their goals and grow to this is by doing nuclear power. It's just the only way. And so everyone is following suit. Amazon is buying a nuclear powered data center. Google is going one step beyond and building new, future forward, smaller nuclear power reactors that won't come out till 2035. They're planning 10 years ahead. You know, it's a little spooky to be happening in private hands, but it's pretty cool to see such a burst of energy, pardon the pun, into nuclear so quickly. And again, the ones that Google are making are pretty high tech. They look like these. They're called SMRs, or small modular reactors, and they are 1/10 the space requirements of old nuclear power plants, even smaller carbon footprint, less risk, and they produce a huge amount of stable, clean power. It's like kind of an awesome deal. America has been very well behind on new nuclear technology. We have, I believe, the most nuclear power plants, but they were all built in the 70s and 80s, and we haven't built any new ones. All of the new ones under construction and planned come from China in red here, or Russia in light red, or other, which is like India. You notice there's no deep blue on this chart. America has not been building any. However, thanks to people like Google, we are at least seeing a huge rise in the smaller module nuclear energy. So it's a good way to see America catch up in this energy race to get the most efficient and cleanest form of energy, nuclear. And I'm happy to see that our nuclear power plants are going to look more like this, thriving symbols of the future, and less like this. Turn into a damn Spirit Halloween, which is a relevant example as we move into our next win and fail.
Times may be good on Wall Street, but on Main Street, communities are struggling. Closed stores, empty parking lots. When hard times hit, it's easy to feel like no one cares. But help is on the way.
We don't see a dead-end town.
We don't see an abandoned Kmart.
We see a spirit Halloween.
Let's give a win to Spirit Halloween, who has been thriving as of late. Spirit Halloween, by the way, they do have a good social media team because they fired back instantly on SNL for that skit. However, their business model is as described in that skit, which is they thrive when other retail companies are failing. They're like vultures. When other companies are failing and can't afford their rent, Spirit scoops up the price for really cheap, uses it for a month, and then dips. You may have noticed a lot of where Spirit Halloween is starting to pop up around you, and that is because of the sort of retail apocalypse, at least physical retail, which has been falling apart. This is the creepiest one of all. An abandoned Babies R Us still has the posters up. I guess that fits the Halloween theme. Anyway, the memes are fast and furious about Spirit Halloween. People love the idea of every time the government shuts down, they'll put up a Spirit Halloween sign, or don't be sad about your business going under, it'll become a Spirit Halloween. Possessing a recently vacated corpse is the spirit of Halloween. And the social media stuff is viral. People are gearing up for another Spirit Halloween adventure. Again, the death of retail is good for Halloween pop-ups, which is why it's a bit of an auspicious sign when Spirit Halloween is doing so well this year, they've decided to expand with Spirit Christmas. Now, usually they would never feel comfortable doing this because Christmas is the best retail season of the year. But this year, they think there's opportunity. Spirit Christmas is coming to 18 states this year, where you can come in and sit on Santa's lap and buy, I guess, unique discount holiday goods. So get in the Christmas spirit with Spirit Christmas. A huge win to them and a huge fail, I guess, to American retail and malls. And on that front, another icon of American retail is in a bit of trouble. And if you grew up in the early 2000s, you may know it, you may love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna give a sad fail to RedBox. Because as of this week, officially, RedBox, millions in debt, has gone bankrupt. They were a DVD rental box that would sit outside of major retail locations where you could walk up and find the latest and greatest DVDs to rent and take home. RedBox has gone out of business. If you go to a local RedBox, you'll see this sign that says RedBox is sorry, it's no longer in service. They ran out of money to buy the rights to new releases. They just didn't have the cash to buy latest and greatest movies like Joker 2. But what it's created is a unique headache / opportunity. See, there's 24,890 pound RedBox machines just sitting there around the country, and the bankrupt company is not gonna get rid of them. And a lot of local retailers are stuck holding the logistical bag. What the fuck do we do with these things? Some of you in chat are saying free RedBox, and what I'm telling you is yes. They might even pay you. I'm not joking. A ton of retail stores are literally paying people who have the capability to take them away. They need to get rid of them. They are in fact a huge burden. They interfere with remodeling plans. Some of them are hardwired into the store's electrical system. Some of them are bolted into the foundations. And some of them have a unique coolant that you can't get rid of environmentally safe. They just thought they'd be around forever. And so no, a ton of stores like Walgreens are stuck with a bunch of them. Walgreens, by the way, going through its own problems as they've closed 1,200 stores today. Walgreens is already going through problems. They don't need more problems, and they're having problems with all these red boxes. As part of their panic over these red boxes, they sued the bankrupt RedBox company. Walgreens is suing a bankrupt company in bankruptcy court to get some of their leftover cash, whatever they have left, to try and get some of the money back because they're spending 184 grand a month on the RedBox machines. Additionally, people are trying to break into them to steal all of the leftover DVDs. They're just gold mines filled with 500 DVDs. And nobody cares, but it's an eyesore. However, where some people see chaos, others, like this guy, see opportunity. He basically went to his local, I believe, Walgreens and said, hey, I love RedBox. I'll take it from you. And they said, please God, yes. And they paid him money to take it home. Additionally, some people are starting businesses where they go around to local stores and offer to take it off their hands for a small fee. So people are becoming entrepreneurial. This guy just says he's a big fan of discarded and lost media. He's a fan of RedBox. Sorry. He didn't say this, but somebody in the article said it, is that we need to find other uses for RedBox machines. One possibility could be used to make them dispense weed. We could turn RedBox machines into greenbox machines. However, this is what they look like inside, and there's not really an easy way to retrofit them to their new purpose. So again, they might just be useless unless an entrepreneurial coder finds a great new use for them. Like this guy who found a way without opening it up to hack it to play Doom. Anyway, obviously this is all kind of doom and gloomy for retail, but I do have an actual win, and that is for retail that has learned to adapt to the modern economic climate. And that, of course, is Costco, but not the way you think, not just selling goods in bulk. They've also started to sell literal gold bars, and it's been phenomenally successful. Costco has been making $200 million monthly selling gold bars. They've become one of the largest commodities traders in America in 1 year. As Americans start to fear the ever-present rise of inflation, they want to buy hard currency that can adapt to an inflationary environment. And so Costco members this summer were paying as much as $2,000 for an ounce of gold from Costco. And what's crazy, after all of these sold out, was that $2,069 that they paid for it was a good price. Everyone that bought these Costco bars when the gold price was around there has seen a massive appreciation. An ounce of gold is now worth closer to $2,800. However, the wiser decision would have been just to invest in the person selling the gold bar, Costco itself, because they did even better than gold. Costco's been one of the best performing stocks all year. What's crazy to me is that Costco is not stopping here. So this was so successful for them, they said, fuck it, we're just gonna be a precious metals trader, and are now selling platinum bars as of like this week. Pretty soon you're gonna buy barrels of oil and like bushels of wheat futures contracts. You're gonna buy like 1,000 cattle. I would like to put a word of caution. While it is true that gold is a good performer in inflationary environments, buying any and all precious metals from Costco is not a guaranteed way to financial success. Unless, of course, these guys say it is. In which case, buy. Get that platinum chain, get that gold bar, okay? And that's why I'm gonna go ahead and give 5 booms to Marketing Monday's longest running sponsor, Rocket Money. I will keep this part super simple. There is some money you're spending that you don't have to. There is some monthly fee, some subscription, some charge that you could cancel, and it wouldn't impact your quality of life, and it would save you money. Rocket Money helps you find that. Full stop. It's an app, you link your bank account, and it shows you every recurring charge, and you can one-click cancel it from the app. One-click cancel is a big deal. Lena Khan, my queen, and the FTC are working round the clock to make one-click cancel mandatory for all subscriptions, but that won't come into effect until late 2025 at the earliest. You can get that right now with Rocket Money, okay? Rocketmoney.com/Atrioc. It supports me. It supports the channel. I use it. It has saved my forgetful ass some money, and it can save you some money too. Additionally, as a bonus, it has pretty cool budgeting features where it uses past spending to predict future spending. You could set a goal and have it save some money every month towards that goal. I'm doing it for a trip to China. It's nice. Simply, it's nice. Rocketmoney.com/Atrioc. I vouch for it. If you're in the right countries where it works, I think it could save you some money. Give it a shot. Supports the channel. Thanks again. Back to the video. Speaking of influencers always being right, we all owe a certain influencer a very big apology. I am issuing a massive Marketing Monday super fail to all of you for doubting this influencer. But let's give some backstory. This is an NFL kicker. Their job is to kick the ball. It turns out NFL's newest superstars are kickers. Unthinkable distances of kicking the ball have now become routine. In the past few years, kickers have become incredibly good at the game. They've become more and more lethal from long range. 29% of this year's attempts have been from 50 plus yards, the most in NFL history, and 76% have gone in, the highest percentage ever. This is a chart of how far they're kicking from on average in the 70s and 80s. Now they're kicking up to, I believe, 7 yards farther on average. This is an easier chart. If it's pink, that means 40 plus yard field goal was made. Look how much more often that is happening, including the record 66 yarder by Justin Tucker in 2021. They are just statistically getting way, way better at kicking. In the 1970s, Tom Dempsey hit a 63-yard field goal. This wasn't matched for 14 years. Nowadays, it happens like 20 times a year. And one person may have said this is all possible. We might owe an apology. Tyler Ninja Blevins. Because in 2019, Ninja tweeted, "I'll never understand how NFL football teams allow kickers that just miss kicks. I feel like there has to be a pool of kickers that just won't miss simple kicks." Would love opinions on this. And the opinions were lethal. People roasted him. He got ratioed. They made fun of Fortnite players. Stirred up controversy. He was roasted across the entire internet for being a fool. But if I pull up this chart on a new age of kicking, where the number of times they've made it from 50 plus yards, you'll notice there's an inflection point right here, AKA the exact date Ninja tweeted. Ninja has changed the course of the NFL. And now, even like NFL youth coaches are saying that we're just asking kids to do more than we thought possible, and they're doing it. Kids are doing incredible kicks they never thought they could do before. And I want to give Ninja Blevins some of the credit. But speaking of gamers and gaming companies that might deserve credit, we need to talk about Nintendo for a second. You see, Nintendo is in a unique spot this year. A lot of lawsuits, but they are a growing and powerful gaming company, and they've had an incredible run with the Switch, and they're gearing up to release their next powerful console, and it's called the Alarmo. The Nintendo alarm clock, not the Switch 2 as everyone had hoped and prayed. It was a Nintendo alarm clock that makes little Mario sounds when you wake up. You see, recently, a leak came out that showed the Nintendo Switch 2 renders from a manufacturer, I believe, in China. And it looks like Nintendo is doing a lot of things right. They're making the Switch 2 not some crazy gimmick, but just an upgraded, more powerful, bigger, higher resolution version of the Switch 1. Now, this is not the only leak Nintendo has to worry about. But there's a general sign that they're gonna name it the Switch 2, and they're gonna make it a reasonable hardware upgrade, which is not Nintendo's normal MO. They're actually doing the right thing for once. And I've realized what's going on. You see, the GameCube was a massive failure. Okay, didn't sell, lost to PS2 and Xbox. The Wii was a massive success. The Wii U was a massive failure. The Switch was a massive success. Are you seeing a pattern? They knew the Switch 2 was coming next, and even if they did everything right, the curse would doom them. So they figured out a plan to make sure they hit their goals. Let's put in the fucking Alarmo. As long as we shove out a random crap sacrificial console in the middle, then our Switch 2 with a good name and a good hardware can succeed again. It is a 9-head play from Nintendo. It is a gigabrain sacrificed to the gaming gods. Speaking of being sacrificed, we have to give a fail to a different Japanese gaming company, Bandai Namco, known for all of these games and more that you see here, including the recent success, quote unquote success, Tekken. Unfortunately, it wasn't as big of a success as they hoped, and Bandai Namco is now beginning to do layoffs. Now, that wouldn't normally be a major Marketing Monday story. Gaming companies like Riot and white-collar tech jobs in general have been laying off like crazy. However, what's unique about Bandai Namco is that they are a Japanese company attempting to do layoffs, and Japan is very strict about you not doing layoffs. It's extremely difficult to terminate an employee in Japan. They have a lot of laws around it, and a lot of social norms as well. And that has led to Bandai Namco Namco bringing out something that hasn't been seen for a while in Japan, which is incentivizing resignations, or as you might call it, oi dashibeya, or banishment rooms. Basically taking an employee and putting them in a windowless office room as solitary confinement, giving them no work to do, no electronics, no books, no entertainment, no stimulus, just telling them to sit there as their job until they choose to quit. This is a real practice happening at Bandai Namco en masse right now. Some of you are saying dream job, but as far as I can understand from looking into it, it is a extremely psychologically torturous situation. You are told that you are useless, you are given no responsibilities, you are said that you're not part of the team, and it's extremely, and they cut you off from all sources of entertainment. It's pretty much actual torture. So I'm gonna give a massive fail to Bandai Namco for doing this, though if you want an extremely easy job and you don't mind, I guess, laying down in a room all day, try to work at Bandai Namco. I guess a win for that one psychotic employee at Bandai that just doesn't care. Since we're already in Japan, I think it's time we look at another major country in the Far East with our good friend Xi Jinping in a segment I like to call
Wazzup Beijing.
Welcome to Wazzup Beijing, a segment covering what's going on in the world's second largest economy, China. As we discussed in previous Wazzup Beijings, there has been a stimulus cannon recently in China. After all of their real estate economic woes, Xi Jinping finally unleashed the bazooka, cut interest rates, printed money, etc., to try and get the economy growing again, get it back on track. However, there have been some early pitfalls. A while ago, I made a video about China's debt crisis where I said, in short, that Xi Jinping is scaring the hoes. Basically, that it's become difficult to invest in China because of how controlling Xi Jinping has become over all aspects of the life and economy of China. Some data is coming out that really proves that. Specifically, that as growth has slowed and growth targets get missed in China, the number of laws that directly reference Xi Jinping and his party's absolute authority have skyrocketed. Again, in 2018, it was about 4% of laws would mention that. Now, we are at close to 64 or 65%. Almost every law being written has a section specifically talking about how Xi Jinping is the absolute power and has absolute authority over whatever the law is about, which is a unique problem. Additionally, while last week the stimulus was extremely bullish for Chinese stock markets, they skyrocketed. It has slowed down a bit as people try to figure out what the stimulus actually is and what it's going to. And some of it is not as growth oriented as thought. A lot of the Chinese stimulus is going towards bailing out local governments, which is basically like, again, in China, it's a little bit different to America. In America, our national government is deeply in debt, but our state governments are not so bad. Opposite in China, it's like if Alabama was super deep in debt, trillions in debt. That's what China is like. Their local governments, their provinces, are deeply, deeply in debt. They have taken on exorbitant borrowing fees to build huge construction projects that have not yet panned out. And so they have a huge problem. And China is stepping in to help bail them out. However, it doesn't fix the larger problem, which is that all of these local governments in China made most of their money by taxing land sales or land leases. They would lease you the land to build something and then make a tax on that. However, as construction has slowed and real estate is no longer the big driver of the Chinese economy, they need a new way to raise taxes because that's just not going to happen anymore. They just can't do that the same way. It's not going to work. And so China is finally doing something that's kind of interesting. I'm going to watch it with a close eye, but China is finally starting to think about taxing the ultra rich. Specifically for money they've hidden overseas. Because they are so desperate for tax revenue, there is no other way to get out of this crushing local government debt. They are finally tracking down wealthy Chinese who have hidden money in like Canadian real estate, Australian real estate, American real estate, and they are forcing them to pay taxes on it, which is interesting and could cause some interesting problems. I mean, I don't know how this plays out, but they are finally summoning wealthy individuals and forcing them to pay taxes that they owe to face their dwindling fiscal revenue. Now, this is going to have some knock-on effects, especially in real estate markets like Canada and Australia that have been a haven for hidden Chinese money. While in the long term, this is probably good to get, your local housing market shouldn't be a foreign investment vehicle. This is a precursor to a drop in values. Like if they have to actually sell to cover these taxes, this could have a stark, quick quick impact to popping housing bubbles in places like Vancouver or Sydney, where a lot of them have been propped up with foreign money. So it's interesting to see how this plays out as China continues this crackdown. If they follow through with this, it could have some serious impacts. Additionally, in China, the major story this week concerned what was going on, perhaps not in China, depending on your POV. Taiwan! This is Lai Ching-te, the premier president of Taiwan. He gave a speech this past week saying, hey, we would love to work with Beijing on a lot of things, but they don't control us. We are a separate country. And him just saying that out loud was again cause for massive response from China, where they held a ton of military drills around Taiwan, war games around Taiwan, large-scale drills around Taiwan, in direct response to this speech. And while they've done this in the past, these were a little bit unique. First of all, they were closer than ever before. They've never been this close to Taiwanese mainland, complete surrounding by air and sea. Secondly, it's never been this much. It was a record number of warplanes. They've never done this many warplanes. And thirdly, they've never done a complete island blockade test. This is the first time they tested completely blockading the island from receiving natural gas and energy and like food shipments. It was a complete test of that capability. It was basically a massive threat to Taiwan. They warned specifically against separatist acts and said if it continues, there will be more to come. While again, a lot of this has happened, this has happened for a very long time, and it's generally considered saber rattling. The fact that they have increased in intensity is at least worth noting. However, maybe it was all a sign of their love for each other. Because this official image came out on Chinese state media of the blockade making a heart around Taiwan. And this, when translated, "Hi, my sweetheart, the patrol is in the shape of loving you." Taiwanese citizens, when asked about it, said it was creepy and likened it to sexual harassment. So we'll have to see how this all plays out, but we'll keep you updated every week here on Marketing Monday and Wazzup Beijing. Thanks for watching. Tune in every week for more wins and fails.